In this video, I'm going to show you guys about the break and retest strategy, which is by far the best risk reward ratio. Low risk, high reward, and you snipe the best entries ever. Now I have two strategies, but in this one, I'm going to show you guys the first strategy. My second strategy is aggressive entries, which I'll make a separate video about that soon. But in this case, we're going to go over the break and retest strategy. Now, the reason why I like the break and retest strategy is because it's the most safest entry you can get, low risk, high reward. And also, I'm going to show you guys failed break and retest and where you should cut for a small loss, how to find price targets. I'm going to go over a lot of trades that I've taken myself, as well as trades that I missed on the break and retest strategy. So first, let's go over Tesla. So just to provide some context on the trade setup that I took for the break and retest strategy, I want to show you guys the trade idea because I posted this in my tab for a trade idea on Tesla for break to either direction. Now we got the downside break, which is perfect, very nice, and it paid nicely. Now the trade setup is very simple. It's just a chopped up range. Price is going sideways and we need a break to either direction, whether it's up or down. I grabbed this most highest wick up here, as well as I grabbed pre-market low here, which is the lowest it ever hit, which is 255. The highest hit, which is 264.98. So it's a pretty big range, $9 range. Now let's scoot down to the hourly time frame, and you guys can see very simply, nice lower highs, which is perfect for a downtrend, which indicates price is most likely going to continue on down. Now, if we were to break this uptrend to the upside, maybe we would have got that break to the upside, but we did not. We got a break to the downside. So this is the hourly time frame. So now we're on the 15-minute time frame, and this is the pre-market area right here. From this time, from 1 a.m. all the way till 6:30 a.m. is pre-market action. So the break and retest needs two variables. First variable is the breakout, which is half of the break and retest strategy. Now the breakout is this candle right here. You guys can see this is called the breakout candle. Reason being is because once you get a candle close below this specific area, and on this trade plan, it's a breakdown below the support or the range. So that's half of the break and retest strategy because you need a break. Then you need price to come and retest that general area where you lost your support level, and in this case it needs to turn into a resistance. This is the candle that I entered on. I entered as close as I can to this general area, so I entered for a put position to the downside. Now don't get me wrong, it ended up pumping just a little bit, but you want a long wick to the upside for it. Now if this candle closed above back into the support level or this resistance, then I most likely would have had to cut it. But in this case, as soon as I saw a nice long wick to the upside, I knew that sellers were stepping in. Plus I want to add one more thing to it, because you got to use all your technical analysis in your favor to find the best trade setup. And in this case, look at the volume. The volume is decreasing in buyers and increasing in sellers, especially if you understand candlesticks. This is a shooting star or an inverse hammer to the upside, indicating that sellers are stepping in, sellers took control, and not only that, it closed below that support level or that range. That's the second part, which is first part is the breakout candle. Second is a nice retest to that general area. In this case, we got it. Now, as soon as it pulled back and showed that sellers stepped in, I was already in profits eating pretty nicely. Now on the next 15-minute candle is what you want to look for as well. You want to make sure it closes below that support level, or in this case, it turns into a resistance. So as soon as we got a nice candle close below this general area as well, I knew that it was going to end up printing some more money. Now, the way I find my price targets is very simple. I just use the most recent lows in the price action. And in this case, if you zoom out just a little bit more, I didn't use this low. I ended up using this wick over here, this reaction of this general area, and I'll mark it off for you guys so you guys can see. You can see it's 251.23. That is where I set my price target at. And this is why I say it's low risk, high reward, because I entered here, had a stop loss around this general area of the recent price action. You guys can see very small risk, but the reward is pretty fat. It's almost double to triple compared to what the stop loss would have been, and the reward is really high. That's why I like the break and retest strategy, because it pays very nicely. If you can get a very good entry, your exit's going to be a nice gain, a higher percentage than a stop loss. And you want that risk to reward ratio. You want a small risk or medium risk, but really high reward. And that's what we shoot for nowadays. So let's get into a couple more setups as well. And I'm gonna show you guys one that I actually missed as well on Tesla, which is a perfect break and retest strategy. Contracts ended up doubling, but let's get right into it. So I just zoomed out, and this is where we just were at talking about. I'm gonna show you guys something real briefly before we get into the actual break and retest strategy on the next one. This setup is very familiar to this setup over here. It's ranging. It's just going sideways. Same thing with this one. It was ranging, going sideways. Now you guys can see on this one, Tesla ended up breaking above. Massive. But there was no retest here. Sometimes you do not get a retest at all. Sometimes price just ends up rocketing, which is why I have two different strategies. Sometimes you get a breakout and no retest, which is one thing you need to be mindful of. Now I don't like chasing, so if it ended up breaking out and get another candle close above and it's pretty high up, what you don't want to do is enter on a nice breakout trade and it's already running. Now, of course, this one would have paid, but I'm also going to show you guys one that failed, because sometimes you enter and try to chase it, but then price ends up coming down pretty hard. And this would put you negative about 40 to 50% if it comes for that retest, which is why a break and retest is the most safest and the highest reward ratio, because if it came to retest, you'd catch that support and it will end up rocketing. Whereas if you enter here and it comes to retest, you're going to be down pretty bad before you come back for some nice gains. It's going to take a minute. But let's skip on to that one because this is where I missed the best break and retest strategy here. Everything was lining up in favor, but unfortunately, I just did not pull the trigger. So similar setup to that most recent one that I just showed you guys. Every time we hit this general area, it becomes a resistance level. But in this day, it ended up rocketing real hard. Now on the 15-minute time frame, it just pushed really hard. Look at the volume. Volume is going insane. Let's step down to the 5 minutes because that's where the break and retest happened. So this is the break and retest here. Look at the way the candles are forming. They're going up a little bit, break out to the most recent highs, holding it as well. And the reason why I'm saying that is because of this. We just got that general area. It's breaking out, holding nicely. And then we get a fat rocket to the upside. Look at the buy volume. It's going crazy. That is a clear indication that buyers are stepping in very strong. And you can tell just off the volume alone. So the retest on this trade happened so fast, which is why I also didn't pull the trigger as well. Again, first half of the break and retest strategy, you get a nice breakout to the upside. Then the second half is the retest here. As soon as price came down to retest this general area of the breakout, it ended up rocketing right away. And I saw this. I even posted in the Discord and took a screenshot and said, here's the retest. But I was too scared to pull the trigger. So fear was one of my emotions on this trade setup and I didn't pull the trigger. But this is every reason to enter. Volume's going crazy. Massive buyer volume. Nice breakout to the upside. Above your most recent resistance, which is now supposed to be a support. And this is the retest. Everything lined up perfectly for a nice break and retest strategy. Now, unlike the first trade, this price did not dip down below the support whatsoever at all. So if you would have entered here, you would have the best entry ever because price pushed massively as soon as you get in here. Even if it dipped down a little bit, your entry was here. You'd be in major profits still. And if you can hold long enough, because contracts are already over 100% here. I was watching them. They went from $230 a piece to $500. Now, on this small pullback, if you would have held or had faith in your trade setup to hold even more longer, it ended up rocketing even more, guys. Break and retest is by far the most safest strategy you can have. Best entry you can get, highest risk reward ratio, because if this candle decided to close back below and start doing something like this, that's when you just exit. You exit once you get a candle close below. But in this case, the break and retest strategy is very favorable in either direction. Get a nice retest at the support level, ends up rocketing. If candle decided to get a long wick to the upside, close below, then I would just cut it for a small loss. The loss would be maybe 15, 10%. But best case scenario, you enter out that retest at the support, and you can gain over 100% gain, 50% gain, 40% gain, which is why the break and retest strategy works so well. Now I'm going to show you guys a trade that I took today on AMD where a break and retest wouldn't have worked. It's an actual trade that I took. Nice 12% gain, but let me remove some of this stuff right here because let's talk about this. Because this is a nice breakout, a pre-market high, plus another resistance level getting breaking out to the upside. I took my second strategy on this one. I took an aggressive entry because I didn't want to lose this or miss this. Now, if you were to try to enter on a break and retest here, look at how much it massively failed. If you were to enter at the support and try to catch a retest here, the moment the candle closes below is where you need to exit. So hopefully, if you were to enter on the support level of this most recent reaction plus support, the moment the candle closes below is where you have the safest exit because this would have been a very small loss compared to if it would have went back up in your favor, you'd be up nicely. But in this case, guys, the next candle, again, long wick to the upside, candle closes below. If you were to try to hold, and I would not advise this because reason one, this candle closed below that support, so it's not holding it. You would have just got wrecked. Immediately took a fat loss. Now I took my second aggressive entry, which is as soon as we get a nice push above, I just enter. Quick 12% scalp way up here, and you guys can see on my most recent live trade. But if you were to try to enter a break and retest strategy on this one, you would have got wrecked. Now, let's visualize this. This is a visualization of what the risk reward ratio needs to be when you take a break and retest type strategy. Now, of course, you can have a little bit of room for your stop loss, but if the candle closes below, and all I did was use this most recent candle closes here, if the candle closes below your breakout or the support level, you just need to exit. So if you were to enter on a retest here and hope that this candle gets a long wick to the downside and close above your support, then we most likely would have rocketed. But in this case, guys, you get a candle close below and you need to just exit and cut for a small loss. So let's talk about this AMD setup, reading the price action and understanding the break and retest here because I took this on a nice break and retest trend. Now I also called this out on my Discord. On a higher time frame, it was ranging here. On the 15 minutes and 30 minutes, it looks better, but it was ranging here in this tight range. It wasn't going nowhere. Price wasn't moving at all, even though market was going up and down and doing all kind of crazy price action. AMD was not doing much. So I decided to grab the most highest point, which is the highs of this right here, and the lowest point, which is the low here, and extend it out and wait for a nice breakout. Not only that as well, but I had a nice trend going downwards. If you connect this trend to this most recent price action or pre-market high and extend it, you guys can see it's a nice downtrend break as well. So there's two nice solid setups here. On the 5 minutes, you get a nice breakout here. But as you guys can see, as soon as price broke out, it did not retest for a minute. It did end up coming to retest later on in life, about an hour later. Now, you could even enter and wait patiently, which that's the part of the game, guys. Waiting patiently is perfect, and there's nothing wrong with waiting, especially if you miss your trade. There's nothing wrong with missing your trade. Just move on to the next one. If you miss your trade, there's many different setups that will come available. So not only did I miss this breakout here, but there was no retest. Now, I could have did an aggressive entry, but again, some days are just safer for break and retest. And in this day, I wanted to break and retest. So instead of waiting for retest here, I decided, you know what, I'm going to wait for us to break this trend and then I'll enter. So as you guys can see, we got a nice breakout candle of this trend here. Volume's pretty strong as well in the 5 minutes. Now, this is the retest. Look at this perfect retest, guys. This is exactly what you want to see. Candle closes right on that trend, and this is where you can risk it for the biscuit. So here's the visualization of what it looks like for a break and retest type strategy. The type of risk to reward ratio again. Because I entered on this retest here. The moment I entered on a retest, we ended up pumping to 12% or 10% here. Next few candles, 12% here. The reason why I like the break and retest strategy again, because I'm trying to drill into you guys' minds, is the fact that when you enter at the best support level or the best entry you can get, which is the retest, if it pumps down and gets a candle close below here or starts looking very bearish, that is a small loss. This is probably like a $3 to $5 or even a 3 to 2% L, which is very small compared to the reward that you would gain. My price target was pre-market high, and that's what I was shooting for. Now, this trade is also one of my recent vlogs last week with a car cleaning in the background for the thumbnail. So you guys can find this trade as well. Many of these trades I just went over are trades that I actually took. So now we get a nice break and retest strategy here. And unfortunately, this one did not hit my price target. But you know what I did? I decided to put a stop loss in profits above $3 above my entry. And I also recently just did a recent breakdown video on that and showed you guys my entry and exit, which was a $3 gain. And that's where my stop loss was. Now, at one point, this went from 231 to 250, which is nice 12%. We didn't hit the price target. So that is what you want to look for when you're entering a break and retest strategy. We're still going to go over a couple more as well, just to show you guys. And as well as I want to show you guys what happens to cut for a loss. Because I took a loss on SPY trying to trade the break and retest strategy as well at one point, I believe 2 weeks ago. So I'll show you guys that as well. But let's talk about the second retest that happened here. Because not only did I catch this right here and sell for a small gain of $3, but look at where it came to retest. It came to retest that zone or that tight range that I just showed you guys earlier. And this is a nice candle here. Nice strong buyer candle. Another long wick to downside indicating that buyers want to step in. And look at the price action, guys. Again, price comes to retest that general area, and then we get no candle close back inside whatsoever at all. That's very important. If you were to get a candle close below, this trade idea or this break and retest type strategy is most likely not going to pay you out. But all these candles are closing above, holding that support, indicating that buyers do want to step in. And again, this is a break and retest strategy because a breakout here, maybe you missed it or you think that you missed it, comes to retest. And now you could have either entered there, entered here, or entered on this candle here, or even again here, or even one more time here. It gives you so many opportunities to enter, which is why I love the break and retest strategy. And again, visualization wise, you can set your price target either to the most recent high, which we never hit that, or you can just maybe enter or get an exit above once you hit around here. Stop loss would be very tight. As soon as you get a candle close below, just exit. And you guys can see small risk, high reward, which is why I love the break and retest strategy. It pays me the most money every single time I take it. It's a very small loss compared to the reward ratio. It's amazing. So this is a trade that I called out in my tab, and unfortunately it was a 55% L and it was a massive cut. Let me show you guys, because this is a break and retest fail right here. I want to show you guys this because you guys got to understand not every single trade setup, even if it looks good, is going to print or going to work out in your favor, because sometimes trade setups just end up failing. And you have to learn to cut, and you have to learn how to take losses. You have to understand that you cannot hold for a fat loss. You have to not get married with your trade idea. You do not want to be in it and just have hope that it's going to turn around. That's where most people end up losing most of their money as well. Now, let's talk about this trade setup, because this one actually, I entered at 104 and sold at $55 value. So a loss of $50. So in this case, all I did was grab the most recent highs right here, grab after hours highs and pre-market high, and draw a zone of support or resistance in this case. Now, look at this. A nice breakout candle here on the 15-minute time frame. Very solid, decent buyer volume. Matter of fact, if you compare it to the most recent buyer volume on the day, it's very strong. Major amounts of buyers. So I was very confident in this trade setup that we were going to end up making some good money. Now, as soon as we get a nice breakout to the upside on this candle, I entered as best as I could and close as I could to the support level, which is the retest. So that's the second part of the strategy, break and retest. First part, you get a nice breakout, then we get a nice retest here on this candle. Plus, look at the wick to the downside. It's indicating that buyers are stepping in as well. So I really thought this was going to be a nice solid trade. I even called it out. I was super confident in this trade, but what ended up happening next was tragic. And I also live recorded this trade as well. You guys can watch it 2 weeks ago on my Monday trade. I believe this was Monday. And I also dropped a live trade on my TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube for this video, specifically isolating the live trade. As soon as this candle closed, I really expected us to continue on higher. And this is what I'm talking about, guys. You guys got to know that every single trade strategy, even if it's a very nice entry or a nice strategy or a nice breakout, sometimes it just does not pay. Most of your trades, or if you have a very good trade setup, will end up paying, but just some of them do fail. And you got to understand that most of the time, at least 1 out of 5 of your trades are going to fail. And that's a good actual ratio. That's 1 to 5 right there. So if you can understand that at least one single trade will fail, but your next few will end up paying you back what you lost, that is the mindset you need to understand. So don't beat yourself up over it. If you end up taking a loss here, it's totally fine. You can find another trade setup. And in this case, and on this day specifically, I ended up regaining my money and some more back on this specific loss on the next 2 trades, but we're not going to go over that just yet. So we get a nice retest here, but look at the next candle. Instantly dumps. I mean, it was a crazy drop. If I go on the 5 minutes too, it was so fast. Broke below my stop loss and I cut it as soon as we got a candle close below. I ended up holding this one a little bit longer than I should have, but this one made me lose 50% on this single trade. Now, luckily I was only in one of them, because if I was in 3, 4 of them and I had $500 or $300 loaded, I would have lost about $150 to $250 on this trade here. But I was just in one of them for $104. So 50% loss is only $50. That's still a big chunk when you go to percent wise. So this is just showing you guys that even the break and retest strategy does fail. So if you guys are questioning why it doesn't work or why it didn't work for a specific day, especially on news packed day and where there's a lot of economic news coming out, sometimes the market just fails. So I had to just cut it and move on to the next trade. And I did end up taking another trade, because my next trade was in this general area. Where I ended up regaining my money was literally the same day, about an hour later, on SPY puts. Now I just marked off the level. I had to go find it on my Discord tab. You guys can see too, in one of my videos, I took this trade. So all these trades I'm showing you guys, there's proof in the videos if you guys watch my vlogs daily, as well as if you're in my Discord. You guys will see I call out these levels every beginning of the week. I call out these specific levels on SPY that I'm watching. And I was watching SPY puts below 597.50. So let's talk about this one as well, because this is the one that paid me more money than I lost here. Because again, another break and retest strategy here. Candle breaks below the support level where I plan on taking puts. Now I did in the pre-market as well, which is totally fine. But in the intraday market open, price closes below. Major seller volume for sellers are increasing. Then I enter as close as I can on this candle, which is perfect for the retest. Now I had to hold it for over 30 minutes in order to get paid nicely, but it worked out in my favor because we get the nice retest there. Candle closes below, long wick to the upside, indicating that sellers are stepping in. And then again, another retest. Long wick to the upside, indicating that sellers are stepping in. Volume is in my favor. Ended up holding. And this is where I got paid fat. This is the one that paid me my losses. And what I'm trying to tell you guys is the fact that 1 out of 5 of your trades are going to fail. So I even took another put position on AMD the same day of this day, which ended up putting me well over in profits, which is what I'm trying to tell you guys, is the fact that the first trade setup failed, but the next 2 paid me the money that I lost and some more. So you guys can see on the price action, breakout to the downside, which is part of the breakout strategy. Then you get a retest here, which is the second half to the break and retest. I had to hold as best as I can. And it hit my price target, because my price target was below here. And if you watch my trade recaps, you guys will see I actually broke this trade down and showed you guys the call out, the entry on my own Thinkorswim entry order book with the filled orders, to show you guys that all these trades I'm showing you guys, there's actual proof that I took these ones. And I'm not just making up random trades. So you guys will understand that this is an actual trade that I already broke down, took on a vlog as well, live, made some good money, and posted it and called it out in the Discord as well. And this day specifically happened this month on the 12th. So you guys can go on my vlogs and go on the 12th, and you guys will see that I took this trade as well. So it was a very good setup. Now this is the visualization of the trade break and retest strategy, because again, guys, the entry was golden. If a candle closed above this resistance level and started to climb back above, you just cut it. It's very simple. But look at the stop loss. The stop loss is very small compared to the gains that I would have made and that I did made on this trade. So you got to have a very good risk to reward ratio. That is how you make very good money, and your wins will always be bigger than your losses. So let's talk about the last trade that I'm going to go over, which is AMD. So this is AMD, and I entered over here on this area, but I want to show you guys and give you guys context of the trade idea plan that I was already watching, which is just a breakdown of this recent support. Now this is a very big daily support level. It goes on very far back, but it also lines up perfectly with the price action, because anything below this general area is a nice breakdown. Every time we hit this zone support, it ends up bouncing, as you guys can see. So let's zoom in and show you guys, because I also called out this trade too in my signals chat, which all these trades I'm showing you guys again, I've taken these as well. So only about one of them is the one that I didn't take, which was that Tesla one that I told you guys I missed. But this is a trade call out that I actually called out as well. If you guys go on my YouTube video, I live traded this one. And again, let's talk about this. Because not only did we lose yesterday's lows over here, but we also lost pre-market low as well. And this was a very nice entry of some nice puts to the downside. Again, another break and retest strategy here. And I'll show you guys on 5 minutes what it looks like as well. But usually I trade the 15 minutes. Again, very simply, a nice candle close below your support level, which is the breakout. Then this is the retest here. Now I did enter here, pulls up a little bit. So I was down about a few percents, but it wasn't really nothing because if I got a candle close above back my support level, which is supposed to be a resistance or act like one now, if a candle closes above back into this general area, then I would just cut it very simply for a small loss. But this candle ended up closing below, then the next candle puts us in profits, then the next candle puts us in profits, and we hit price target. And all I did to find price target was grab the most recent lows over here. That's how I find my price targets for some good gains. Just grab any of these lows over here in this general area and you can find a nice price target. You can target this low right here. You can target this low right here and end up actually hitting that one. You can even target this low over here, which ended up hitting that one as well. So the risk to reward ratio on a break and retest strategy goes nicely. You can make some very good money with the break and retest strategy. And again, if the candle just ended up closing above here and try to hold the support, then I would just cut it for a small loss. But look at the reward, guys. The reward is massive compared to the small stop loss that I would make or lose on. So that wraps it up for today's video on the break and retest strategy. Now, of course, if you guys are in my Discord or want to join the free Discord, you guys can ask questions as well and ask me to go over anything more that you guys do not understand when it comes to the break and retest strategy. But I hope this video helps. Now, I am going to drop another video here soon about the aggressive entry that I take and why I take it compared to the break and retest strategy, because many times it just does not do a retest. But with that being said, I hope you guys understand a lot throughout this video of how to cut for a small loss, visualizations of what the break and retest strategy looks like, why you need to wait for a retest, and hopefully overall this video helps, because this is a strategy that I use myself, which ends up paying me a lot of money. And this is the best strategy that I found out that has the best risk to reward ratio. So with that being said, hope you guys have a good day and I'll catch you guys on the next educational course.